Hi, my name is Henry Uduku. I am a fashion entrepreneur based in Lagos, Nigeria. I am also the founder and creative director of androgynous menswear brand Henri Uduku. Banking on myself was a no-brainer in the sense that I had a passion already from my earlier days in Covenant. I went to Covenant University, where I would usually style a couple of my friends for departmental dinners, which eventually led to me designing for the Redefinition fashion show we used to have in school. And like all of that experience, put that into working in media, it just like full circle moments, and then starting the business eventually, everything just like added up and made sense. So yeah, with all of these experiences, I find that I've always chosen myself. I'd always like banked on myself. And I guess that has led me up until where I am today. Because even with registering my brand, for example, there was a bit of a conflict, trying to use more Western names. But then the moment I sent in my brand name, it was a quick, acceptance from CAC. And I guess that was a very validating moment for me. And just moving on, it's like, keep banking on myself because why not? Who else would do if I don't? It's been a roller coaster of a ride. We're almost 7 years in business now. My starting point was as a writer, fashion writer, and then I went into styling and did a bit of freelance photography before I eventually went full-time designing. Hasn't exactly been the easiest ride. Fashion can be a very capital-intensive business, and fundraising is never an easy job. So I would say that one of the biggest challenges we face in the industry is raising capital. But beyond that, Nigeria has a lot of factors that can be extra challenging, with the economy and steady rising inflation rates to zero electricity and even workforce because there's zero loyalty in that department. If you put all of these things together, they really do highlight most of the challenges that we face in the fashion industry. The lows have been, I think my biggest or lowest of lows has been the year 2020. I believe I had a really good 2019 in terms of revenue, in terms of clientele, and in terms of numbers generally. So I had really high expectations for 2020. And I guess none of us had predicted what would happen with COVID-19 in 2020. Having a lot of inventory locked up in a store that I had just rented with a couple of my friends, two of my friends, wasn't exactly easy because my monies were tied down in form of rent, in form of inventory, and that was a really downtime for me. I best believe I went bankrupt, and in a bid to try and get business back to what it is today, I think I was left with 100K that I spent on ads that never translated to anything. I think that was really my lowest point. Before now, I would usually say that my biggest challenge was funding. I mean, funding is still one of my challenges, but just right now, thinking about distribution and producing and numbers, because fashion is really a numbers game. Figuring how to, get my brand on a more global scale than it is right now has been really challenging. And just the Nigerian factor with terrible electricity and just unending increasing prices are some of the challenges that we face in this industry. My biggest achievement with my brand will definitely have to have been building the community that we have now, because it is a really wholesome community. Our motto is crafted with friends in mind, so we're definitely thinking about our community a lot in everything that we do. The business so far has been built off referrals, and I think that has made everything what it is today. Just following up with referrals, I got to represent Nigeria in Egypt recently at the Inter-Africa Trade Fair under the British Council umbrella. And I think like community and just like being able to represent my brand and represent like, the industry in a sense has been really, has given a huge sense of achievement for me and the brand. Chaper really comes in handy for me as a Nigerian entrepreneur. I typically use Chaper for my global transactions. My Chaper USD card I use for payments for my website, for my bookkeeping apps, for Canva, and even for like Facebook and Instagram ads. On the other hand, I also do really use Chaper to receive payments internationally as we've grown our customer base to include a global audience. My favorite feature on the Chaper app is definitely the virtual USD card because I'm able to pay for my music streaming platforms. I really can't do anything without my music. I'm also able to pay for a lot of my shopping expenses when I want to shop from my favorite international brands. I think that globalization is the ultimate goal. Telling, teaching, and spreading the gospel of African stories, techniques, patterns, like we have done with this new collection. We have our logo here using techniques from Nigeria, and like I said, ultimately spread all of these techniques, all of these stories, teach our culture to a more global audience, Africa to the world. One thing I learned this year is that my business and a lot of other businesses are centered around numbers. It's really a numbers game. So the goal is to reach a global audience, a wider global audience through concept stores, departmental stores, just like wholesale buyers. So we're in more closets and I guess through stylists and more collaborations in a nutshell. Numbers don't lie. Check the scoreboard. Something I would always say, or some of the things I would always say to aspiring entrepreneurs are hard work does pay off in the long run. Consistency is definitely key. From personal experience, it's taken me about 6 years to get to where I am. So I mean what I say when I say consistency is key. And you can never really downplay the power of your network. So 3 things I'll tell you to never forget: hard work, consistency, and the power of your network. In all things, bank on yourself.